which is kind of the usual thing that you do with.
Yeah, that's a hard
hands.
feint.
That is a hard feint.
Yes.
When we talk about soft feint, it's throwing an attack, but throwing a different attack during the startup
Yeah.
to essentially transition to that second attack there. So what JC is doing here, maybe that looks a bit clear. Maybe go from top to side there. JC throws a heavy attack and then soft feints into a light attack from the side.
Yeah, from a different stance.
From a different stance. Very important. It's not in the same direction.
Nope.
It's in a different direction.
Yeah.
So you can do that with heavy attacks into light attacks. But you can also do that with heavy attacks into heavy attacks.
Oh, whoa. Which is something new, right? We very rarely, like Kinsey has some soft feints into heavies, but this is the first time that we have soft feint into lights, soft feint into heavies, having like a lot of focus on this.
Nice.
But there's even more.
There's even more. So with soft feinting, there's a couple of things you can do. There's one part in the chain that I'll mention first, just before we jump into more soft feinting stuff here. Is I mentioned before we have a light, heavy, light, heavy chain. You also have a light chain with a bash in chain, but you need to soft feint your heavy attack. You can do this from neutral, but generally we've seen lots of players going into chain and throwing a bash. In this case, frightful kick. It's a kick, an unblockable bash. Coming from the soft feint.
Yeah,
nice.
And you can do this from neutrals as well. You can soft feint into this kick.
So the idea overall is that like anytime you soft feint with this hero and you go into either a light, a heavy, or that frightful kick, you always go to your finishers. So this means that I can do like technically heavy opener into heavy, soft feint into heavy, into heavy, soft feint into heavy, into soft feint into light, and do however you want. So you kind of have an infinite chain.
Yeah, like a pseudo.
As long as you use your soft feints constantly.
Nice.
So that's super interesting there because it adds like another dimension, right? It's not just a regular infinite chain, which is something, by the way, while we're developing the hero, we tried to give her at some point an infinite chain. And with all the soft feint options, it didn't really feel right. It was getting really complicated to figure out where am I at in my chain? What's going on? We tried a bunch of different things, 3-hit chains, all sorts of things. And we ended up focusing on this aspect because there's another part to her kit that we'll be seeing very shortly. Just part of what the other thing that makes her really unique. But it's really interesting. One last thing before we get into the other little thing.
Yes.
I just want to hijack the animation presentation for half a second.
Good
because
point.
it looks too good. And I want to give them a massive shout out. Look at those stance changes. When you switch your stance from left to right, all the little flourishes, all the stuff that's been going, I'm taking over for them for a second there, but they know they have crazy props there. This hero, the animations look amazing. There's a lot of attention that's been paid also to the soft feints so that everything looks a lot more realistic. When we were designing the hero, working very closely with Vanessa's team to make sure that we had soft feints that looked believable. She has two weapons. We want to make sure that whenever you start an attack and you soft feint into something else, that it moves very, very, very seamlessly. So that's really important. It was really important for us.
Yeah.
And I think it's reflected really well in there. So it kind of fits with the whole soft feint team.
Yeah, exactly. So
What else is there that's kind of unique with this hero?
Now let's get to the first unique part. First, I mentioned that specifically. So this hero has soft feinting as kind of a dominant mechanic, but what makes her cool is you can soft feint into this move.
Yeah, I'm gonna go far away so you can show it like how far it goes.
Fear and Fury.
Yes.
So this is essentially soft feinting into a dodge if you're thinking about input buttons, but this is a special kind of move.
Yes, it's a very, very special kind of move.
If you've been paying attention, you would have seen the guard indicator show guard in all directions.
Yes.
This is of course an assassin, which means that if you attack an assassin at the right time during a dodge, she deflects.
Yes. So I'm gonna like throw a top heavy towards me. And I'll show it as a regular.
Let me move a tiny bit back, top heavy.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So, assassin, right? Important to note. I saw people when they were seeing the gameplay trailer, screaming deflects in chat. Yes, deflects. Yes, it's the first assassin, pure assassin that we've made in For Honor since Nusha, which is
since Best Girl Nusha,
right?
Oh,
So
Best Girl
we've been wanting
now.
to do assassins. We wanted to get back into making assassins using deflects with the removal of reflex guard that we've done quite a while ago now. We've been getting more and more and more into like we can actually make assassins now. What kind of stuff we can do? So this is our first assassin for a long time.
Yeah,
super excited, and she has deflects, and so we wanted to, on top of it, make her special. And so what's interesting with that move there that we see that like she runs towards open with Fear and Fury, The idea here is that it's not full block; it's full deflect. So
Gotcha.
similarly to what we've seen in the testing ground that we've done, like not that long ago,
Not that
right? With
long ago.
Peacekeeper, she has full deflect frames for the entire duration of that move as she runs forward. Any attack that could be deflected, so unblockables don't really count or whatever, but any attack that could be deflected will be automatically deflected. So,
That's
Mike, if you want to try it out, like,
Yep. Do you want me to
Yeah,
try the
just
attack? Yeah,
do a run
here we
there.
go.
see, so I hit her
Yep.
inside of it, she did a deflect.
Nice.
That's already like that works for any side, anywhere. If there's people around that try to hit you while you're running, you will deflect them. You can do whatever deflect punishes. We'll go into that after that in a little bit.
Nice.
You can get like anything there. So it's really, really cool that to really have that deflect synergy. She's an assassin. We wanted to go all in on deflects. It's also a pretty interesting move. You can target swap it. Clearly, when 1v1, it's kind of, we're not really show it. But it's interesting to go. You can hit somebody, you can soft feint, and then target swap, run towards somebody else, get into the mix of the fight, and really running around like kind of crazy. So it's really interesting. The other part that's kind of cool with it is that you can soft feint into it, right? But you can also just chain into it after a light or a heavy. So because of this, it kind of gives her a lot of freedom into when do I use this kind of extender move? What can I do with it? How can I use it offensively, defensively as well? It's kind of the designer that was working on it. Noel, big shout out to Noel, by the way. Wanted to make something that was really attack as you defend and defend as you attack type of thing, but not in a conventional way that we typically have in Fortnite. It's not a superior block. It's not crushing counters or anything. It's I'm committing to a big forward dodge that has a lot of potency that makes people scared, and it also ties in with her lore, right? We were listening to Raphael earlier and stuff, and a lot of it is about like controlling people through fear. I don't know about you, but if I was on a battlefield and this crazy person with two massive swords started running towards me, I'd be a little bit scared.
Get out the way.
She's
Yeah.
very confident in that run. So yeah.
All right. So then, Mike, you want to run us through
Let's,
what we can do? Because
what
it's
we
not
can
just
do,
a
yeah,
run, right?
Of course.
If it was just a run, you'd be like, whatever. But what
that's
can we do
okay.
out of this one?
So out of this run, you can chain, right? So let's go. That's default run, Fear and Fury. Out of this Fear and Fury, you can do a light attack. There we go. Oh, I'll do it from top.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hop. There we go.
You can do it
Big
from side.
slash.
Also,
I can do this from side as well.
So another big aspect that we have here that Mike is going to show us is it's really interesting that we wanted to really push the stance-based aspect of this as well, right? It's not just, I run, I do something. It's I run, I pick a stance, I do an attack. So you have light. You also have zone attack that you can do as well.
Yep. So we'll
That is a pretty quick zone attack there.
Fly the zone, throw the zone attack out. There
Right,
we
so
go.
a big zone attack hits people around. That's really good. But then, so already you have like a bunch of different options. But you can do the light from any different stance. The light also chains more into. You can go back into Fear and Fury.
Nice.
You can kind of have like a lot of like running around there. What I would suggest is it's pretty strong, but it can actually be really countered. So we're not gonna go into crazy details here because I want to get people a bit of a chance to explore.
Sure.
But at the same time, we've carefully thought out the duration of these things, and I would say experiment with them a little bit. It might look like, I'm going to just do like, run light, run light, run light. That does not necessarily work as well as you would think it does. There's ways to counter it. We've put a lot of thought into how do you counter it, but how do you counter the counter as well. We have like a lot of thought put into it, but it's really it's a question of what can you do with those different situations. If you land a heavy and you do Fear and Fury, you get different frame advantages that if you land a light and you go into Fear and Fury. So there's a lot of thought that was put towards this to really make it super efficient.
Ultimately, this gives you lots of options.
Yeah, exactly, right?
So many options.
The breadth of it is like the basis is we want to give players a lot of options.
Yeah.
To have a lot of player expression. How do you want to play her? What do you want to do? That's good. But then there's one button. I think I saw you do it.
No. You didn't see me
How
do
would
it.
you
You didn't
spoil
see me
that?
do it.
But there's one more button that you can do while you are running. Actually, there's two more, but we'll show. Like you can also like just to show you can also like dodge out of it.
Yep.
So if you do,
You go that, go in, you can dodge
you
cancel.
can dodge cancel out of it. So like if something happens and like if a bash is coming at you, you can like dodge out of it and you can do like a lot of interesting things. That's kind of weird.
Nice.
But then,
Let's go.
what do you do with that heavy button now?
What did I do with that heavy button? So that heavy button leads us to the second unique
Yes.
called Bloody Wrath. very aptly named. It's an unblockable pinning move
Yeah.
that comes out of Fear and Fury.
Yeah. And in any stance, right? So it's like left, right,
Any
top.
stance.
Similarly, a little bit, if you've played Pirate, she has something a little bit similar, but we really pushed it to the extreme where she would like
but
use her sword to impale. Instead of just going, we have like this, whatever. There's a lot more options with her.
Once
Right? So
more.
why don't you run us through through them?
More options is always good. So let's go. We'll pin you. And I can follow up with the light attack.
Yeah.
Very quick
Super
light attack.
Yeah, very, very fast. Kind of ties in with her feats that you'll see in a little bit. But sometimes you want to do a light if you're in a group fight, if you're in any kind of situation where like, I can't get stuck in that animation really quickly.
Yeah.
Throw out a light, you get out of it super quickly.
Cool. Fantastic. Next, you can pin and go into a zone attack.
Oh.
This is an armored zone attack.
Yeah.
So you cannot be interrupted with it. An uninterruptible stance.
Yeah.
This is also useful in team fights.
Yeah, exactly, right? So if you want to deal a bit more damage, people around you, whatever, works quite well. But then there's another one.
So you pin somebody, and now you want to finish them off with a heavy
Yes.
finisher follow-up off of that Bloody Wrath. And this does big damage.
Yeah, it does big damage, pins for quite a long time as well.
Yeah.
Looks amazing. Like, honestly, like our VFX team, our animation team, again, outdid themselves. Like, the big blood splatter, everything.
Yeah.
You feel like she's, getting there. And again, that's part of how we design these moves is from the fear aspect, right? The idea here is that she does this not because she's cruel, because she wants to be, like, violent or whatever, or she absolutely wants to kill that person, but it's also to scare people around her.
Yeah.
Because, again, if you're in a fight and you see her doing this, like, what? I don't really want that to happen to me. So it plays into that fear aspect as well, which is super important for this show. And it also ties in with feats as we go along the further out.
Indeed.
So I don't want to spoil too much there, but that's pretty interesting.
And I thought it was cool. You mentioned the VFX on it too. Did I see some blood splatter on the screen?
You saw blood splatter on the screen.
That is a nice touch.
Let me just soft feint correctly here. Up. Blood splatter on the screen. Nice curvature in the blood there on the side.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
So
quickly before the feats, though.
Yes.
Before the feats, we have a couple of other ways we can get into this move.
Yes.
Because we did talk about the deflect earlier.
Yeah, so that's another part of what's interesting with this hero is that Bloody Wrath as a move by itself, it's interesting. It's a pin. It does all the different things. That's pretty cool. But we wanted to go again hardcore all in with this.
Yeah.
And to make it an integral part of our moveset. We didn't want to go, you have to do Fear and Fury to be able to do Bloody Wrath. It's pretty cool, but it's not really like the thing that we absolutely need to do. So it's also available in a lot of different situations.
Nice.
So for example, like you can
I'll throw it top heavy, and you can start with the first one there.
So on deflect, you get it. Like, so I maxed it out, so you do it again so I can show like a different follow-up there. So every time you deflect, either from a normal deflect on the side or off of Fear and Fury, you can always go into Bloody Wrath, which is pretty cool. You also get it off of what else?
Guard break.
A guard break, right?
Successful guard break on somebody puts you straight into that Bloody Wrath, and you have all the follow-ups.
Exactly.
Nice.
To note here, because I'm sure there's people in chat going, oh, this is way too OP. Don't worry too much about it. Every single version of Bloody Wrath that we're seeing, so the one that is off of Fear and Fury, the one that's off Deflect, the one that's off of Guard Break, and there's two other ways to get into it, they all have different initial damage values so that we can balance them accordingly. So that, for example, the one off of Guard Break, if you do the Guard Break and you do the heavy follow-up, then what ends up happening is you deal like a little bit more, or like typical damage for a Guard Break. But if you do it off of Fear and Fury, you deal more. If you deal it off of a parry or a deflect, you deal different amounts of damage. So that's really important to know here that yes, there's a lot of different ways to go into it, but at the same time, the initial damage of the initial hit from Bloody Wrath is different depending on the situation.
Nice.
So we also have it off of a parry, right?
Parry. So let me throw a top parry, top heavy for you there.
Right.
You can follow up on that.
Yeah. So here, there's something that's interesting here, right?
Yep.
So off of a heavy parry, it's not guaranteed. So we can do it again. I'll do it, and you can dodge it, right? So it's dodgeable. Off of a light parry, however it is, you can do a dodge attack to me, for example, for the side dodge.
Side dodge attack?
Yeah,
Here we go.
Right, so off a side dodge attack, it's fully guaranteed. So again, you get good stuff there. It kind of works. That works really well. Again, really well off of a parry. Off of a heavy parry, you can still get a light. That's good. The other thing that's interesting is that, just to mention, off of Guard Break, if you don't want it to have the entire time of it, because this is a pin, It takes a while. It's interesting.
Yeah.
You can still zone attack and get the full 24 damage that you would normally get, right?
nice.
So we still thought it out to make sure that we have the whole setup here that works, that makes sense with damage values, what we have with other heroes and stuff. So that's kind of interesting here. So that's
I'll set
about
that
it
up,
for
so I'll leave it to
moveset
you
in
to,
general.
fill the void a bit.
Yeah. So thank you, Mike. So
So
a lot of the stuff we've been talking about, right? So we've
Yeah.
been working on this hero for quite a while now. We know the hero quite well. We faced a lot of challenges building this hero, right? We have a soft feint hero. It's not the easiest thing to build all the time.
Sure.
Want to make sure it's balanced. We also wanted to make a hero that was not particularly easy to play as, right? There's a lot of options. There's a lot of room for player expression, so it's super interesting.
Yeah.
We also tried a lot of different things. I won't go into too much details because it's going to go necessary. But we tried a lot of different aspects, and not everything always worked out. Because this is normal, and it's For Honor, and sometimes you go, I wish there was this, that. Doesn't mean we didn't try stuff, but also at the same time, it's like we need to make it fit within what's in For Honor, and it makes sense. So we ran into a small snag, so we can give this to our amazing person here. Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
that is cool. And so, so where do you see like like the inspirations we have for her? Obviously, first assassin in a long time.
Yeah.
Like, and obviously we see these kind of like cool like pinning maneuvers that she has. So where do you maybe see her in regards to like the team comps and other areas like that?
Yeah. So in terms of team composition, because she has like pins, she has actually a really good access to that pinning move, right? To Bloody Wrath. What's interesting here, thank you. What's interesting here is that like she pairs really well as a gank initiator. So heroes that have a lot of big damage from neutral. I'm talking like maybe Shigoki,
Yeah.
Itokiri, that kind of stuff where you can actually like guarantee a lot of damage off of an ally pin. Those work really, really well. She's really good to set these things up. So she works really, really well with these heroes. She works well with like a lot of different team compositions. Again, big trajectories on her attack, so she hits a lot of people around her. She might be good at. She's gonna be pretty good at stalling as well, so you can get into good points and stall people to get into where you need to go. So she's a much more universal hero, but again, she's pretty tough to use effectively. So take your time when you're playing with her. Get into what you need to get into, and really flesh out, understand the moveset. She's not the easiest hero to play, but there's a lot of really cool things that you're going to get into that are amazing here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, cool. So we can look at feats now, right?
All right, let's take a look.
Awesome. All right, so
right.
Mike.
So we're looking at feats now. I want to give a caveat. Like we've messed with cooldowns, especially for one of the feats.
usual.
That's cool.
It's not just an instant thing, and we'll talk about that.
Even
in a
then,
sec.
only the 4th feat as a cooldown, and we'll tell you what the actual cooldown is going to be.
Exactly.
for you there.
Nice.
So let's start with feat 1. Feat 1 is a passive feat that you unlock. It's called Relentless. Now, we talked about soft feints a lot in this hero. You will be using soft feints a lot when you're playing Khatoon. Soft feints cost stamina. However, once you unlock the Relentless feat, the first one, it has no cooldown. It's a passive feat. No more stamina cost for your soft feints.
Yep.
Nice.
So that's really interesting, right? Because we want her to rely on those soft feints quite a bit to open up opponents. Typically, when you have soft feints, you have a lot of stamina costs associated to them. So because we want this hero to have like a bit of an easier time, and we want to encourage you to go into soft feints, then this feat essentially just goes, you pay the initial cost. So if you want to soft feint into a light, into a kick, also which is interesting because usually those bashes cost a little bit more stamina, right? You always only pay the 12 cost up front for the heavy, but not the initial, not the extra cost for whatever you soft feint into.
Which means more soft feints.
Exactly.
All right.
Soft feints.
I like it.
Now, as usual, with all our new heroes, we want to make sure that the feats are synergizing with each other and the kit, right? Feat 2 is once again a passive feat called Brutal, and the way it works is when I land follow-up attack off of my Bloody Wrath, so off of the pin move, my damage is increased by 20% for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
This is it's a passive feat. It doesn't have cooldown. It doesn't reset immediately, so you will kind of have to wait it out and reperform. That's a hard word to say, actually. Reperform the move to get that buff as well. So you see the glow on the hands. You'll see the damage increase icon there in the health bar as well.
Yeah. So what's
She
interesting
has
here-
to commit to that.
She has to commit to it, and then it doesn't last for super long. And like you said, you can't refresh it. This is part of what I was saying. Like, it triggers off of light,
Yeah.
zone, or heavy follow-ups, right?
Exactly.
So sometimes you might want to go, oh, I just want the damage buff quickly. I'm going to do a quick one, go into light, works super well.
Yeah.
You still get it regardless, but the idea is that like you, again, to play into player choice, into what we need to do, super interesting, works quite well there, so that's really good.
Nice.
Also, it plays into, sorry, just to say, it plays into that fear aspect as well, right?
Right.
We're talking about fear again. The idea here is she lands that bloody wrath, does something, scares people around her. She feel like you're kind of worried. You go, oh wait, and then she ends up being stronger to make you more afraid to play against her. That's a big part of what we're building with these identities, with the type of things, which is super interesting in my opinion.
That's cool.
Exactly. And then moving on with fear, what goes with fear? It's intimidation.
Yeah.
And that is the name of Feat 3. The way it works is whenever you kill an enemy, you will gain a, let's call it a fear aura.
Yeah.
An aura around you. It lasts for 10 seconds. It's stuck to you, so you can move around with it. And anybody inside, any enemy inside that will take 25% more damage. So it's an 8-meter aura. I will have to kill you to demonstrate this.
Please kill me.
So, yeah. Oh, actually, let me. You.
I'll go side. Just
This is like our PlayStation's JC.
Yeah.
Just try not to die. Let me just help throw you in.
All right,
Where we
yeah.
can see. Okay.
So you see, yeah. So
See
there's
the
a big
VFX.
AoE around you. There's that stuff that's going on there. Just be running back really quickly.
I will run towards you. Oh, showing off only JC abilities.
Yeah.
There we go.
I have a special god mode in this game that I can do whatever I
Oh,
want. So
that's
that's why I
what-
don't play live. It's
I see.
This
I
is
see. It
also
wouldn't
the
be fair
only
otherwise,
way JC plays PlayStation.
Yeah, that's it, right? So, but that's the thing, right? So this feat, again, it plays on the fear aspect, right? You kill somebody, everybody around you goes, oh.
Yeah.
And then you get lower, you increase the damage you take, right? So it's a defense debuff. Those two feats, so feat 2 and feat 3, work really well in tandem.
Yeah.
Essentially, you hit somebody, you get your damage buff, and you kill somebody, you defense debuff everybody around you, and then she becomes like an insane killing machine. She does like 45% extra damage, essential on everybody around her for 10 seconds.
Right.
Very, very, very strong, super interesting. Not super selfish, so the feat 3 is really not selfish at all. You really help out your entire team.
Right.
So you land this, if she kills somebody in a group fight, everybody's happy.
Right.
She's one of the few heroes
Everybody's
that
happy.
Right.
you know, like when you play the game, you play any game, you see, and you wanna you wanna kill steal because you're like, I'm gonna kill steal.
Yeah.
Please don't do that with her
Yeah.
because then it'll actively hurt you.
Yeah.
It's always beneficial that she gets the final hit on somebody when that feat is unlocked. Every single time, let her do it.
Nice.
There you go. And then finally, feat 4, right? So we're trying something really, really, really different for a fourth feat.
This is another spicy one, fresh from the GE team. It's called Ultimate Punishment, and JC kind of alluded to it before. There is one more way to get access to your Bloody Wrath, and that is unlocking feat 4, pressing that button, and then very quickly doing a lot of damage.
You do it straight from neutral. Again, it's something that's kind of interesting. It matches the stance you're in, which is the first time we're doing this.
Yeah.
So if you're in left, top, or right, it's going to do the Bloody Wrath in that move, in that stance. And it's parryable. It's 400 MS though, so like 400
very
MS
quick.
neutral.
That's pretty quick.
Good luck.
Pretty much unreactive.
Like I don't think anybody is able to do that on
Yeah.
reaction. No offense to like our amazing pro players. That is really, really stretching it.
Yeah.
What's also cool, Mike, is what's the cooldown on this?
The cooldown of this is 45 seconds, and that's unusual for.
It is very unusual, right? So typically when we do feat 4s, we do these big bombastic feats. You can think Fire Flash.
Right.
You can think Catapult, right? All sorts of things that we do, like Hitokiri's for fourth feat that like kind of instant kills you. So we typically do really crazy big feats on tier 4. But for this, we're trying something different. And I want to see, I want to get people's opinions. I want to see, I'm going to go on Reddit, clearly, because I
Sure. Yeah.
love to go on Reddit.
We love it.
But I want to see what people think about this specifically. Do you like to have a tier 4 feat that has it's a big impact on the game regardless, but it's a less explosive feat on a much shorter cooldown that you can use really often?
Yeah.
It's something that we've seen players kind of ask for once in a while. So it's something that we're trying out with this hero. At the same time, it fits super well with her feat, with her kit, with everything. And then again, you want to gank somebody, you just do this 400 MS, unblockable from neutral, really, really, really like hard to react to. Can set up a lot of damage, can set up a lot of good stuff, and it's available really